Hello guys and welcome back to another episode of our La Liga career mode here with Sevilla. We've got big games coming up today as we will head into the playoff round of the Champions League, where we've been drawn against the Parisians and the real life winners PSG. So I'm not really expecting us to get through that. We've got more big games in La Liga as we look to fend off the teams below us and qualify for Champions League football again for next year. So big games to come, starting with Celta Vigo, one of those teams who are currently chasing us down for Champions League football. At home at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. Vamos Sevilla. Yeah, off and underway in our first game of the episode, and of course we did pretty well in the previous episode, but we did end with 3 defeats in a row, which saw us just scrape through in the Champions League as PK straight from kickoff and Amin will tap in the rebound. Yeah, we just about qualified for the playoffs in the Champions League and then lost to Real Madrid in the league, and of course then followed that up with a defeat to Barcelona in the Copa del Rey quarter-final. So with PSG to come today, I'm expecting us to probably be dumped out of the Champions League as well. So all of our eggs kind of in the La Liga basket at the moment as we look to ensure qualification for next year's Champions League. Yeah, we had an absolute thriller of a game in the return fixture in Galicia. Finished 2-2. I think it might have been match day 2 of the season, where Stefan El Shaarawy was on absolute fire that day, and this man's on fire today. Amin Gouiri with his second of the game. Lovely build-up by Aymar, cutting in off that left side, squares it to Amin, and he was never missing from there. Sevilla looks set for a huge victory. Celta Vigo have had a really good campaign. I think before kickoff they found themselves in 7th place and looking to get themselves into Europe for next season. But if we win here, it doesn't look as if it's going to be Champions League. And Amin Gouiri with a fantastic hat-trick. Yeah, as I mentioned, after those 3 losses in a row at the end of the previous episode, with PSG to come, we needed to make sure that we bounce back with a big victory here. And against a fellow contender for European football, that is a statement from Sevilla. Amin Gouiri with a fantastic hat-trick and a big 3 points as we head into the clash against Paris Saint-Germain. I'm not expecting it to make it through this tie, but at least for the first leg, at home at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, let's just try and make sure we are still in the tie heading to Paris in a week's time. Vamos Sevilla. Yeah, as we kick off here for this first leg, I'm feeling pretty nervous. And just a quick note about PSG: how good were they in the Champions League this year? I mean, they absolutely demolished all of the English teams, and I believe it was the biggest scoreline or winning margin in a Champions League final ever. So they absolutely demolished Inter in the final, who are known for being a fantastic defensive side. And yeah, I mean that team's young, is hungry, and they're only going to get better. So it's I was quite happy for them winning it. It's interesting to see how they're going to do over the next couple of seasons, whether they can build on that now they've got their hands on the trophy. But in this save here, of course, going through the playoff as they did in real life, I'm intrigued to see how we're going to get on against them today. Drosa lifts that forward for Amin, who wins the header, and now Romero has got PK with him, but Isaac Romero away from Vitinha. Angle's a bit tight, but Romero off the post, and PK can't quite turn in the rebound. Well, Romero with a fantastic run there, just sort of found the gap and went for it, and nearly found the back of the net as well, off the post, as PSG survive. Now here comes Kvaratskhelia. Back to the edge of the box for Vitinha, who does let fly and does open the scoring for the Parisians. Wonderful goal, and there's definitely more to come in this tie. Yeah, if that little sequence is anything to go by, you should know there will be more goals in this tie. We look a threat going forward, but we know how good the Parisians are as well. So I'm expecting there to be more goals in this first leg and in the tie overall, as again we're slicing through them. As PK gets away from Hakimi, and PK pegged back to Romero, holds off his man, and this time does have the finish past Donnarumma. It's only taken us 6 or 7 minutes and we're back on level terms. Yeah, PSG are really coming after us, as they did in real life, really coming for us on the press, but we're sort of able to play through them. And if we do get through them, there's chances for us, as that's lifted out to Asprilla. I see Romero on the edge, nice heel to heel, opens up for Romero, and Donnarumma makes the stop. And there's definitely chances for us getting at that back line, and we've proved that in that opening 45. Cracking half of football, and as I've mentioned, still more goals to come. There's no way it finishes 1-1. Romero finds Amin down the left. I've gone positive with both of them in the lineup today. There's PK, and Jibril lets fly, and he got hold of that, the skipper, and he forces another good stop out of Gigi Donnarumma. But again, we come forward as PK puts too much on it. And Yasser gets it back. Yasser Asprilla having his shirt tugged. Yasser lets fly. And Gigi Donnarumma in the way again. He's having a great performance out there today, as we've seen so many times in the Champions League this season alone, as that's played to Jibril on the edge of the box, and Donnarumma saw it late, but thankfully for PSG, he got gloves on it. And yet that is going to do it. What an absolutely fantastic game of football here in Seville. Second half was a little bit quieter, but I'd say we had the better of it. Forced Gigi Donnarumma into a fair few saves, and I said I wanted to be in the contest heading to Paris for the second leg. But before we get there, we've got to return to matters in La Liga. Still lots of football to be played in the league. And as we head into match day 24, staying at home at the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan and hoping to build on what's been a pretty good run of form for Sevilla as we take on CD Leganes. Vamos Sevilla. Yeah, you always find if you're in a Champions League two-legged affair and the first game's like a really good game, as Amin opens the scoring, you want to just jump straight into the second leg and play it straight away, but obviously you've always got a game in between, and it sort of feels like a filler game. It's like a filler episode in a TV show, and yeah, it's always difficult to kind of motivate yourself because you want to jump straight into the second leg. But what a start here. Amin Gouiri is on absolute fire this season. Asprilla throw into PK, back to Yasser. Lovely skill from the Colombian who beats his man. And it's still alive, and it might drop for Yasser. It's a bit of a scrappy goal, but you know what, we'll take it. Yasser Asprilla having a much better campaign this year. Obviously came in January of last year and never really settled, but his first full season, and he's having a much, much better campaign. Fantastic finish on the weaker right foot as well, and we look set for 3 points on the weekend. Yeah, all over here in Seville, and we just took our foot off the gas in that second half. All the damage done in the opening half an hour, and we just controlled the game from there on out, and that's exactly what I wanted heading into the second leg against PSG. A comfortable win. I was able to rotate a lot of my side, and we're fit and raring to go for the second leg. So as we travel to Paris, tie in the balance at 1 apiece, but of course PSG having that home advantage in the second leg. I'm still feeling like we're massive underdogs despite a strong performance in the first leg at home in Seville. And maybe by some miracle we'll be able to find a way through the poisons. Vamos Sevilla. Rain's coming down pretty heavy here in Paris. And I'd say we had the better of the chances in that first leg, as I've said, as Romero prods towards goal. And probably should have done better with it. I've gone attacking again. Amin on the left, Romero up top. And I think there's definitely chances for us today. It's just whether we can keep that front line quiet. Neves forward to Kvaratskhelia, joint top scorer in the Champions League this season. And he'll get that back. He's onside. Kvaratskhelia finds Gonzalo Ramos. It's wonderful. And that is what I was just saying about the quality of this PSG front line. This is without the likes of Barcola and Doué as well, but Gonzalo Ramos stepping in up top and delivering in the Champions League. PSG will get us underway for the second half, and I think you've got to give us some props for, you know, how we've gone toe-to-toe with PSG. We're a young team. We're in our first year in the competition under my management. And, you know, we struggled in the league phase. But heading into the knockouts, we've competed with PSG really well over these 2 legs. Oh, as that's really lucky as Nyland makes the stop and gathers the loose ball. But our ball slid through. Kvaratskhelia to Ramos. Big danger here. Lovely football. Kvaratskhelia seals it. That will do it. Paris Saint-Germain on home soil, getting the job done, and they will be heading through to the last 16. As I said a moment ago, you know, we're not at this level yet. We're at the early stages of a rebuild, and I'm sure we will be back. We've still got a job to do in La Liga to ensure qualification for next year, but this is a rebuild, man. It's going to take time. 10 minutes to play. Tie's not completely done just yet, and if we can find a late goal, then you just never know. Crazier things have happened in the Champions League as Aymar is onside and does pull us back a goal. 6 minutes to play. I think it's a little too late, as Jojo would say. Well, unfortunately, that is going to do it here in Paris. And it was just too little too late. But as I say, man, props to us. And I think Luis Enrique, with the handshake there, just saying that. Fair play, man. We went toe-to-toe with one of Europe's elite, and this year in real life they were Europe's elite, winning the Champions League, and we just narrowly lost out and were defeated by just a single goal. But our Champions League adventure comes to an end. We weren't great in the league phase, to be fair, and we were sort of punished with the draw by taking on the Parisians, but still work to do in the league. So yeah, more games to come to close out today's episode, and we'll jump straight into our next game as we move on after that heartbreak. Got to bounce back with a big victory as we've still got a job to do in the league. So Getafe away from home. Vamos Sevilla. Yeah, as we head into this game, just want to have a little quick discussion about this season, and you know, whether it feels like it's been a success. Obviously, we've not finished the season yet, but we've just La Liga left to compete in. I think we've done pretty well. You know, we did better in the Copa del Rey. We made it to the quarterfinals, and we lost by just a goal to nil against Barcelona, one of the best teams in the country. In the Champions League, being knocked out by Paris Saint-Germain and giving it a real good go. And if we finish in third in La Liga, which is looking pretty likely, then I think you'd have to say it's a pretty good campaign. Improvement from last year. And yeah, I think we've done pretty well. So I'd be happy with the season as Piqué's shot is blocked. But we've still got work to do to make sure we wrap up Champions League football. It's definitely in our own hands, but we've got to make sure we get the job done. Yeah, I want to make sure that our season doesn't sort of end with a whimper. You know, I think, as I mentioned in that clash against PSG, everyone sort of expected us to lose it, as that's brilliant work, and we will have a free kick. No one expected us to make it through, so I'm not too disheartened. But yeah, we've still got a job to do in La Liga, so I'm not taking my eye off the ball as Yasser's strike is just over the top of the crossbar. Pedrosa stepping in field. Pedrosa gets it back. Lovely move. Pedrosa off the crossbar. And that opening goal just will not come at the moment. Pedrosa now goes close. And still we remain deadlocked at 0-0. But it is all Sevilla at the moment. And this is a really good reaction to that defeat in midweek. As Piqué finds Aymar. Back to Piqué, and Amin this time does open the scoring. It's taken us 38.5 minutes, but finally we have that breakthrough. Well, just under 10 to play. It's been a really poor game, and I'll be honest, I have not played well in this one. Haven't really reacted that well to the loss in the Champions League. And as Romero lifts that for Puertas, great chance for his first goal of the season, and in fact, it might be his first goal for the club. I don't think he scored last campaign. And off the bench, the two substitutes link up to confirm the victory. Not the greatest performance, but the result we needed after being dumped out of the Champions League. And with some tricky fixtures coming up to close out the episode, we'll jump into our next game, returning back home to the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan, taking on Atletico Madrid. and I'm eyeing my first scalp against one of the traditional top 3 teams in Spain here. We've not beaten either Real, Barcelona or Atleti since the start of the save, and with us currently above Atletico in La Liga, a big win here will not wrap up Champions League football, but will put us in a really, really strong position heading into the final few games of the season. So, big game, need a win, vamos Sevilla. Yeah, I feel like we should have quite a comfortable end to the season. I think Champions League football should be relatively comfortable to lock up. It would take an almighty collapse in the remainder of the campaign for us to throw it away. So we should be all right as Romero lets fly and is denied by Oblak. We've got quite a healthy lead, and there's a lot of teams involved. So someone would have to go on a really good run, and we'd have to completely collapse as Barde finds a Gume, who gets his first goal of the campaign, and Sevilla do take the lead. If we get the win here, then we put ourselves in a really strong position for that Champions League qualification. And of course, as we saw last year, potentially 5th place could be enough, as with Villarreal last season. But I want to make sure, I want to finish in 3rd place as well and get as close to the top 2 as possible. Well, not long to play here. Not been a very good game, and it's not been the prettiest performances either. But if it gets us across the line, I will not mind. And as Yasser races away, that's going to be a spot kick. Brilliant from Yasser Asprilla, and a chance to secure the victory and all 3 points from the spot. I'm going to let our top scorer, Amin Gouiri, have it as well, as Amin sends Oblak the wrong way, and that will secure it. Amin Gouiri, La Liga's top scorer still, finishes off Atletico Madrid, and we will finally get our first scalp of the save against one of the traditional top 3. It must be close to 10 games in total that we've played against all 3 of them, and finally we're going to get our first win. As I say, not the greatest of games, not the prettiest of performances, but the result is exactly what matters, and that moves us one step closer to playing Champions League football again next year. But I'll tell you what, we'll jump straight into our next game. Another one against one of the teams just below us in the table, and Athletic Bilbao away at the San Mamés, where again another ground that we've struggled historically. Lost there in the Cup last year, and I believe we drew there last season in the league. So a tricky place to visit, but we're on a great run of form, and I'm feeling pretty confident after that win against Atleti. Vamos Sevilla. Yeah, we've responded really well to the Champions League knockout to PSG. Back-to-back wins in La Liga, and the win against Atletico Madrid just kind of shows where we're at in this save and with this team. Able to compete with the best, as that's beautifully worked. Prados' shot is blocked and he can't force in the rebound. But yeah, we're able to compete, and at the moment Atleti down in 6th and we're in 3rd, so proving that we are up there as one of the best teams in Spain. And yes, we're not quite at the level of Barcelona and Real Madrid yet, but at the moment those two are sat 1st and 2nd undefeated all season long. So I don't think you can really expect us to be at that level just yet. Well, quick free kick into Strand Larsen. Sonse back to Strand Larsen. Big save by Kepa. Biggest chance of the half, and it's the Spaniard who bails out Jorgen Strand Larsen. Corner will be played into the middle. Strand Larsen's under it, and the header drifts wide, but that's a big stop by Kepa as we approach the half-time interval. Sonse dispossessed by his former teammate Beñat Prados, and it's shoveled forward for Amin, who's pacey, and we know he's got that pace. And there's PK! Big save by Marcin Bulka. It's not been a particularly enthralling game, and we saw a big stop by Kepa down the other end right at the end of the first half, and now the Pole, Marcin Bulka, forced into a save himself. That might drop for Barde, who drills in the opening goal. A big goal from the big centre-back up from defence. Sanchez did well when the initial cross was swung in, and it falls kindly for Barde, who just smashes it as hard as he can. and Marcin can't get anything on it this time as Sevilla take the lead. Huge goal. Well, that's going to do it as well, guys. Not a very good game, but the best teams are able to grind out victories even when they're not at their best. And an unlikely goal scorer in Loic Bardet, one of the leaders in this group. He's worn the armband a few times this season when Nemanja Gudel and Djibril Sow are both out of the starting lineup, and I'm a big fan of his. A really important goal that, like I said in the previous game against Atleti, moves us a big step closer to Champions League qualification for next season. And do you know what? We'll close out with one more as we return back home to the Ramon Sanchez Pizjuan. Match day 28. So it will leave us with 10 games remaining in La Liga. Taking on Rayo Vallecano, looking for another big victory. Vamos Sevilla. Yeah, we've got a 10-point gap to 5th place at the moment, and with 5th place potentially granting Champions League football, I'm feeling confident as PK's denied. Oh my goodness, what a double save. I'm feeling confident we will be playing Champions League football next season. So, yeah, with 10 games left to play, it doesn't feel like there's a huge amount to play for us. I'm fairly confident that we will wrap up Champions League football as Pedrosa scores a wonder goal for his first of the campaign. Yeah, just over an hour played here, still leading by 1. And we've been pretty comfortable and in control as we look to make it 4 wins in a row in La Liga. I would like a second goal just to give us that cushion as Pedrosa comes forward and the goal scorer down the left-hand side. Lovely run by the fullback, finds PK, looks to get half a yard and is denied by Caprile as we look for that second goal. And we'll take some of the pressure off us as PK, lovely skill. There is Sanchez, couldn't pull the trigger. Well, I think this is going to do it. One final chance for Vallecano. Again, it's not been the greatest of games, but as Mario Gila wins the header and it goes out of play, that should do it. And there is 4 wins in a row for Sevilla. A great reaction to the knockout in the Champions League to PSG. 4 wins in a row, as I say, and big wins against the likes of Atletico Madrid and Bilbao. And we will be at least 10 points clear of 5th place after this game, depending on the results of the teams below us. So we're looking in great shape to qualify for next year's Champions League. Not a huge amount to play for as we close out the season, but yeah, it's not done yet. Still work to be done. And until it's mathematically secure, I'm not going to be taking my eye off the ball. So I'll catch you in the next episode where we should hopefully wrap up Champions League football. And yeah, we'll crack through to the end of the season pretty quickly. I'll catch you in the next episode very soon, guys. Take care.